right. Assalamu alaikum, Abu Dhabi. This is my very first time here. So I'm very intrigued by the topic of this panel. In fact, I'm so anxious. I want to go straight to the first question. And talking about governance, I would like to ask, who should be held accountable when a surgery robot, this question is for Dr. Rabien, when a surgery robot causes harm, is it a problem of manufacturer? Is it a problem of software, of developer, of the operator himself? Or is something else? Please tell us more.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. To answer this question in one word, actually, is always, I think, combined complication or combined responsibility. Just briefly, let me tell you about the history of robotic surgery. Robotic surgery started actually in 2004, and I was learning it at that time. So I've been doing robotic surgery for more than 20 years. And every 5 years, there's a new update, a new version. As any technologies happen, they keep updating it, and that robot becomes smarter and smarter. Now, for 20 years, this robot has been exclusively manufactured by a company called Intuitive. And the famous robotic surgery platform that we are aware of is called Da Vinci Surgical System, which is the most advanced at the moment. It gets getting smarter, but still it's totally under the control of the surgeon. So it's not autonomous robot. So automation is still not there in robotic surgery. So this is something that I need to clarify. This is what we call a master-slave robotic surgery, where the robotic arms are totally under the control of the surgeon. The AI role is not in machine learning right now. It's basically, it's how to make our surgery looks better by dampening the tremor, for example. Now, recently, we are including augmented reality. So basically, when we are sitting behind the console, looking inside the abdomen of the patient, you can superimpose a picture, augmented reality, of the kidney. Let's say I do kidney surgery, so you can superimpose it and to help you detect, to find the kidney tumors or to help the vessels. During the years, there are some issues and lawsuits against Intuitive Da Vinci company because of malfunctioning of the robot. Luckily, those malfunctions are so rare, very rare. We had few incidents where, let's say, the robotic arm stopped working in the middle of the surgery. We could not move it. We had to mechanically remove it. Luckily, the harm was minimal. But basically, to summarize it for you, if the core analysis of the problem was the hardware, let's say the arm stopped working, this is definitely the manufacturer. If the problem is related to the software, let's say there is wrong algorithm and as a result, the instrument was moving in the wrong direction, that's become a software problem. Now, if the problem is because the robot is not well maintained and the hospital is not taking care of it or not training the nurses enough or the team in the hospital, that will be hospital responsibility. In most cases, the complications happen, unfortunately, because of the surgeon's error. Either the surgeon is not well trained, or he doesn't have enough experience to do robotic surgery. So the complication or the harm is the direct action of the surgeon, not the machine.
Of course, and this is absolutely interesting because here is a problem of governance and also ethics. But talking about also software, right? How testing environments can be utilize leverage in the GCC, in particular in the UAE, in order to deploy more secure solutions. What do you think, Michael?
I think it's absolutely critical. We heard about sandboxes earlier, and at Steer AI, being a company that wants to commercialize, that's a very important lever for us to go out and prove that the technology works. The sandboxes, it's not just proving that technology works, it's also on an operational side, understanding handovers. I think we very often get caught up in this. We're going to go from everything is manual to everything is digital. There's a transition, it's incremental, and those sandboxes allow us really to learn what are the handover points, what are the operational accountability parts that we need to solve for. So that's the physical part. There's a data part as well, where the government can help. Ensuring that we get access to high quality data. Simulations for autonomous companies is critical. It allows us to add a lot more variables into different situations that really stress test the software, the hardware, and allow us to learn accelerated. If we had to rely purely on physical, I think we would all have to be 120 years old, as suggested on the previous panel, to really experience these things. So it's a very important part of it. Also, the safety element is important when it comes to data and simulations. We're able to add adverse weather. That is a critical element as well to ensuring that we have something which is safe. And then there's a third layer, which is the external parties learning and improving their business models. When we deploy a vehicle on the streets, we need insurance. I think there's great examples in China where they have done this in sandboxes, and the insurance companies have really learned how to now price an insurance and make it a lot more interesting, not only for the companies that are selling these autonomous products, but also the ones who are actually purchasing them. And they were able to basically very quickly get to a point where one vehicle for a full year would cost $100 to insure, because it is indeed a lot safer than humans. So I think those three layers is something where government can do a lot to ensure test environments, both at the data and at the physical side.
Interesting. And how about you, Sebastian? Would you like to add anything?
Sure. So I think as a technology company, our view that regulation and the right policy is very important to drive the sustainable technology innovation, right? For example, if we have any innovative technology, want to push it to the market, want to adopt it in a large scale, want to make sure that everything will go as planned, right? So this is where the testing environment will play a crucial role, that we can work very closely with the regulatory body, with the policymakers, to identify together what are the potential risks and what are the corner cases which was not covered in the technology development phase. And we can come up together with a comprehensive governing framework in order to make sure that our technology can be adopted in a large scale and sometimes to the local environment. For example, autonomous driving technology actually will require certain customization according to different countries, because the signage, the rules on the road are different from country to country. So what we are doing from autonomous point of view is that we are introducing our technology as a foundation here, but at the same time, we're running a pilot under the approval of the government to make sure that we can cover all the scenarios in the UAE. So then we can be more confident of pushing the technology to the average consumers. The other end is that actually, this is something we learned in China. So in China, if you are driving a Huawei-enabled assisted driving vehicle, you have to go through a series of tests, which is AI literacy kind of test, in order to make sure that you understand what's the boundary of this technology, what are the potential scenarios you are going to encounter when you're using the autonomous driving capability of our cars. This is also one angle we learned during the testing phase as well. We want to make sure that whoever is using our technology knows the, excuse me, understands the limitation of the technology, so you can make sure that they can be prepared if anything happened, if there's an incident, problem will come. So I think testing environment is definitely very important for technology innovators, to policymakers and government, to make sure that when we adopt the technology in large scale, everyone is prepared.
Absolutely insightful, and allow me to add on this note, is about innovation, but is also about harmony, and I would like to hear also your point of view, of course. I've been advising several governments in the GCC, in Europe, and I found out that the golden formula to create a successful environment that fosters innovation, that mitigates risks, and also pushes for more disruptive technologies is to how to find a balance between the public and the private sector, and to be specific, how the regulatory part is, the frameworks are established. Now, looking at the latest, I think, the latest AI framework in the European Union, that was the very first time that Europe had a massive framework where the private sector contributed way more than the public sector itself. In the GCC is something where the UAE is leading the way. UAE is leading the way when it comes to technology, but also regulatory aspects. So the question is how the private sector can help the public sector in establishing frameworks. And I would like to hear your point of view from Michael all the way to Dr. Rabieh.
Look, it's a great question. I think regulation is key to unlock this opportunity commercially. I think if you look at the numbers, Chinese working population will decrease by 25% by 2050. In Japan, by 40% same year. Europe is also aging. There's an incredible need for automation. So I think that's just setting the stage of the importance of that. The next layer is really that the collaboration of public and private sector is proven already. Historically, you can look at the commercial aviation industry that came about not because it was actually the British with de Havilland who were the first, but it was the Americans who, because they had a public and private sector, who developed the demand, the regulations, and basically the environment to really push it, that this really was enabled to thrive. We can see it here as well. I mean, we engage regularly with the authorities. We're being consulted. We provide also proactively advice. And all this really spawns a very constructive environment. We have Savi as well. So the environment for us to operate is very collaborative. And Steer.ai, which is part of ATRC, we also see that on a daily basis, the importance of being aware of not only current regulation, but also what's coming in the future, so that we can work in the slipstream of that and really provide ourselves and the ecosystem around us the best opportunity to really succeed in the market.
That's interesting. And Sebastian?
So to my opinion, I think like any technologies, when there's any innovation, there's challenges and risks come with it. For example, the internet technology actually shaped the world we have today in the last 20 years. But when internet technology starts, the cybersecurity starts to rise, right? I mean, I think each and every country have their own policy and regulation in order to make sure that the cyberspace is safeguarded according to the national agenda. For AI technology, it's a very, excuse me, it's a very similar thing, right? So with the AI technology development, I think there's concerns or there's people see risks about the AI technology. I think as a technology provider, we believe that the transparency of the technology development is very important, or is a value we can contribute to the country. We can showcase what are the potential risks we discovered to the government, and the government can make accordingly the policy in order to regulate potential risks. Like what we did in cybersecurity space, right? We do have a cybersecurity transparency center in our headquarters in Shenzhen, where we disclose all the risks we identify in the cyberspace, and we also offer the technologies in counter all those risks, all this attack, all the threats in cyberspace. We don't have the AI-related transparency center yet, but I think this is definitely in our agenda to provide in the near future. The other hand is that actually it always requires technology to regulate a innovative technology. For example, the cybersecurity is the same thing, right? In order to regulate the criminal activities in cyberspace, you actually need a very strong technology to identify the potential risks, the potential activities which possess a threat to the national security in the cyberspace. In the AI technology or in any innovative technology, it will be a similar story. So as a technology provider, we'll look into the technologies in governing the innovative technology as well, which can be potentially a tool to the regulation body or to the policymakers to make sure that they have a visibility of what kind of risk can be brought by the new technologies, and accordingly they can act to make sure that everything is governed under the national agenda.
Wonderful. Dr. Rabieh?
I mean, similarly in healthcare, we doctors are in the front line. We are the people who are interacting with the patients directly, identifying the problem that we are facing in terms of daily management, in terms of surgery, in terms of the limitation we are facing as humans, as doctors, in able to either make the diagnosis or even to treat. Now, when we are dealing with human life, the rule number one we as doctor have sworn off is do no harm. So when dealing with tissues as a surgeon and organs, we have to be very careful in applying machine learning or automation. We are not there yet. In cars, it's much easier in other technologies, but we are dealing with the human bodies. But we are in the front line of that interaction, and we know that we have limitations we need to overcome. Now, AI has played a big role in certain sections of healthcare. As you know, for example, in radiology, in reading images, because there is no direct patient interaction, and we have tons of data about reading those images. So the AI is totally evolving very quickly here. And this is true for other specialties like pathology, reading slides, and even, but when it comes to intervention, direct patient intervention, it's not there yet, though even it's evolving. So us in the private sector, we are providing the first line interaction. And of course, we need the government sector to guide us in the regulations. We give them the feedback, they give us the suggestion, we work together, we interact together, and try to evolve as quickly as AI is evolving. It's impossible to keep track with the evolution of that, but at least maintaining that type of interaction between the private and the public and governmental sector will ensure that we are going smoothly with technology, and more importantly, not causing any harm to our patients.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I believe, just to conclude this panel, rich of insights, and thank you so much for this, that AI will be as good as our capacity to govern it, to properly attribute importance to the relevant aspects, like I mentioned, the governance, the ethics, and most importantly, although not the main topics of this discussion, the data, which need to be unbiased and need to follow all the morals and the aspects of a culture where the model is deployed. Thank you so much for all the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.